Good Tuesday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the internal combustion engine age YouTube channel. It talks about all my cars and trucks and SUVs, motorcycles, the dogs, the weather, the state of times, the attitudes. From there, wow, just another incredibly beautiful fall morning, Tuesday morning here in the Northern Virginia, Maryland, DC area. And hey, everybody who's in my channel, thanks so much for tuning in on this Tuesday morning to hear me gab away and talk to get the day going. And beautiful yard, trees, just wow, just incredible. I mean, it's incredible how nice it is up here. And there's my one dog. We have dog issues this morning. It's not the most comforting to talk about on my YouTube channel. So yeah, where's the other dogs? They're all out of control. And what is going on today, right? What is happening today in the morning conversations that keeps the YouTube channel alive? And I got to think to myself this morning that we had the commitment conversation yesterday. Had a lot of people kind of respond to that, which is really neat and nice. And this morning I got to think to myself, well, what comes from commitment besides maybe a goal? If anybody here watching my channel, I think everybody can relate with the term goal, which if you're a sports person, you're going to be more like, yeah, so you just scored a goal. If you're a soccer player, if you're a hockey player, if you're a basketball player, if you're a football player, that goal term seems to be that meaning you scored, or maybe got a penalty for goaltending, and or you had a goal in life, which I think all of us do. I think everyone here has a goal. You know, what is your goals, right? Here we are with the Plum Crazy kind of locked down, as I talk about, you know, where we are in today's world for the, it's just incredible how the Dodge Charger and the Dodge Challenger are such sought after vehicles to be stolen. It's really incredible. And unfortunately for me so far, my insurance per se isn't reflecting that. And so I kind of make it a little more challenging should somebody want to come and visit me for the wrong reason. Ford Bronco, worked out of that yesterday. What a great vehicle. That is such a great work vehicle. We have it set up, so comfortable and really powerful. I think just rolls down the road. Love that vehicle. And so, all right, let's get in here and let's look at the, come on, pups. Oh, you know what? I set out some mice traps, and did they work? Did the mice? No, this is so funny. So the mice outsmarted the traps. Yeah, there's one. Okay. And here's another one back here. Did it get? Same thing. The mouse outsmarted the traps. That's classic. So my wife bought these mice traps. See here? And if you look, if the mouse goes in here and just slightly puts weight on that or whatever, then this thing goes down or whatever. Yeah, so that little plate there activates the door to close, and not so much. So the other two, because we have mice in my barn, and the challenge for me is that if I put mice bait into, to kill them, my challenge is, does my dog eat one of the mice that ate the bait and kills my dog? So I can't do that. So I need a snake, right? I'm sure some people up there, yeah, man, if you got a bunch of mice, I got a snake that would love to devour those things. So I'm not the snake guy. So let's get the puppies up in the office. We're missing one. He's hanging out in the house begging. His goal, Scout's goal this morning, is to be fed from the scraps of the breakfast table. Anybody know that story? So yeah, what's going on here? So I'm sure that most people that watch my channel would be like, well, we know what your number one goal is. That is to have as many damn cars, trucks, SUVs, motorcycles. Yeah, you're right. I mean, sincerely, I did have a goal back in the year of 2020. I did have a goal, and believe it or not, in the pandemic year, to have 30 cars and trucks. And if I'm correct, I think I pulled that off. I mean, I'm not lying. I think in the pandemic year, even though it was just a crazy time in the world, I was out buying cars and trucks. And if I'm correct, and by the end of 2020, I think I accomplished owning 30 vehicles. Not talking about motorcycles. I think it was all just cars and trucks. Yeah, so how many cars and trucks do I own right now? But that was just something I really wanted to accomplish in my life. It was like, I just had this goal just to own as many new cars and trucks that I can possibly ever own at one time in my life. And I pulled it off. But here's the thing. But then in 2021, the pandemic was just really killing me financially. And if you really watch my channel, you'll see that I was having to give stuff up. I had to cross the bridge about June of 2021, and the value of these cars was so high that I was able to sell most of my cars that gave me decent money for them. I mean, I had to let go of my Dodge Challenger Red Eye Octane Red peanut butter color interior that I bought in the summer of August 2019. And that was I had to give up my Ford Mustang GT500 magnetic, which if anybody watches my channel, you see that was kind of when I really started, growing my channel. It was back in like February, March of 2020. And in 2021, I had to give that up. So my goals were in some ways shattered in 2021. And I mean, there's just a whole list of vehicles that I started taking down to the dealership and getting rid of them. And even a point where in the summer of 2021, when I put an order in for the first Bronco, I ordered a Bronco for me, 4-door, and a Bronco 2-door for my daughter. And, and I even thought in July of 2021, as I'm giving vehicles up, how the heck am I going to qualify to buy any vehicle in, 2022? By the time that vehicle comes in, how am I going to have, how's that going to work out? It's just blind faith, really. And if you watch the channel, you see that by the it may have been July of 2020, I think, actually, because it was like a year. You just can't keep track. It was a long wait for that Ford Bronco. So yeah. So anyway, so the goals here can relate with goals. When you're very young, you're thinking about what you're going to do with your life. I mean, I'm right there with you. If anybody young watch my channel, in all sincereness, whatever dream, and I was just a young kid getting going, that one day I would aspire to have what I have today. I mean, in all sincereness, I didn't. I was a kid in high school, thought I'd probably be a truck driver for doing that for a living. Just as I kind of got going into life out of high school, I kind of started up my eyes. Everybody has it. Your eyes start to open up a little bit more. I realized that maybe I had once, and I realized that didn't require me to drive a truck for my whole life, even though I did drive a tanker fuel truck for many years and did a lot of grunt work for many years. But so I thought the best thing to talk about this morning would be after the commitment conversations with the goals, because it so relates to the vehicles that we own. I think that so many people can honestly say that getting going in their career, getting going in life, one of the things I think that many strive for is to have a nice vehicle. And that was one of my primary goals right out of high school was, how can I afford to have a really cool car? How can I afford to have a really cool truck? And I was blessed because I found a nice 1971 Plymouth Cuda that I was able to buy. And I had a nice Chevy truck that I was able to ride around and drive around in. And that was just the true beginnings of me kind of getting going with my car addictions. But for so many here that watch my channel, I'm sure that everybody has a story about what was their first vehicle, what was the goal in their life that they had set, that by they get to a certain age and they were going to buy their most sought after vehicle. I think everybody here that's a car lover could tell a story as I'm sitting here telling my stories. And I think that that's what's really cool about having goals is you set yourself on a mission. You try to raise above where you are today to where you want to be tomorrow. I think that's what goals are all about. And goals are in every aspect of our personal life and then of our business life. And we're right now, witnessing what is the goal of the auto industry. I mean, in some ways, it seems a little confusing because of what they're trying to take away from so many of us that have such a passion for, which is these ICE vehicles that come to life and make a rumble and it's just music to our ears. But on the other end, the goal of the green agenda and the automotive industry is to take this away from us, which is just incredible. Because I think everybody here watching my channel can so relate with having a really nice car that has a nice grumble to it, the noise, the motorcycle. I mean, it's just something about that just makes us feel good. And, once again, I guarantee everybody here on my channel that watches me could literally say, yeah, when I was a young person, my number one goal to have this vehicle, and that's something I strived for. That's why I went to college, or that's why I pursued this position of a job, or whatever it may be. That eventually I rose above my wages to enable me to be able to buy my dream car. But at the same time, everybody knows that you can set goals, and that's the biggest challenge, is when we set our goals, did you set the goals too high? And the other thing is, when you do set goals, the odds are you'll have your failures trying to accomplish those goals. So what is the goal of the Indian right now? I think to myself, because everybody's watching my channel and weighing in, and it'll be very interesting. I'm going to try to be a little patient. I'm going to try to give another few more days to see if Indian reaches out to me. If they don't, I think I'm going to call them by Thursday. And what is their goal? What is Indian's goal of the Indian Pursuit that obviously has a design flaw? And I know some people watching the channel like, you've talked about this Indian Pursuit, so much. You're really going to go down that road again? I'm not. But I'm just sharing with when businesses have products that have issues, what is their goal? What's the goal? How do they resolve the Iceman's challenge? How do they resolve many other people's challenges as well? And what's interesting is my selling dealer is telling me that Triumph is very aggressive on unhappy customers, that typically Triumph will address the issue and resolve it in a rather quick manner, and either buy the bike back or give them another new bike. That's per my own selling dealer that says Triumph's very efficient on that. I think BMW in so many ways is as well. I'm not real sure on that. I just haven't had this type of issue before on the motorcycle having this imperfection. Not this one. It's an Indian Pursuit sitting out the dealership and no longer sits here in my garage. And where would I park that anyways besides another trailer? But the point is that what is the goal of the manufacturer to keep the customers happy and safe? I mean, wouldn't you think as a individual who works for a major company that your number one priority for your customer base is the well-being of them and the safety of them? And that's why it just befuddles me that you're arguing with a motorcycle manufacturer in so many aspects on a two-wheel bike that so many people won't even get on. I mean, if you think about it, there's many people out there who never ride a motorcycle. They're scared of motorcycles. There's many people out there who tell you you're crazy on a motorcycle because you're going to die on the motorcycle. I mean, we hear these stories all the time. And yet here's Indian with a major steering flaw, wheel flaw, engineer designed a motorcycle, and what is their goal? What is their goal to resolve this? I have no idea. I'm not the guy who works for them. I'm not the higher up. So what is Harley's goal? Harley's goal is to always outdo Indian. What is Indian's goal? Always outdo Harley. Well, right now, it'll be very interesting to see what the Harley does on the new updated Touring models that's supposedly in January, which January is not that far away. Hard to believe that they do the big reveal on the new Touring line. And I'm excited to see what they're going to bring, because that could really change my whole Indian love or hate, right? Don't want to word use hate, but it'll be interesting to see what Indian's goal is, or I should say Harley's goal, because what's the word on the street is Harley's not doing that great. But the word in the street is everybody's not doing that great anymore. I mean, does anybody read these articles every day? I mean, look at Ford here. Ford, what is their goal? Many people, I think, now relate Ford to the number one domestic manufacturer of being the biggest electric vehicle manufacturer, besides, per se, Tesla. But as far as the big three go, just walking out my driveway here, I have two of the Ford electric vehicles. And as many know, things have changed. That the Ford is really having to pull back on the rapid expansion. So their goal for Ford has been to be the dominant EV manufacturer to bring to the market an affordable, safe, reliable vehicle. And it's not happening because per se, that car was not per se affordable for the amount of money I spent for that car for the average person. Is it a safe vehicle? Yes, it is. The range anxiety is a challenge for Ford. Here's the Ford F-150 Lightning over here, which I think is a good truck with nice design. I think they accomplished their goal on keeping the truck a truck and not taking just away from the real truck experience. But at the same time, it's a very expensive vehicle, and it's hard to digest that this is really the smarter purchase per se for the average person that uses it in certain applications. It's all it's relative to really what comes down to what you're doing with the vehicle. But here's the thing: right now, supposedly there's 97,000 electric vehicles in the market in our country that are sitting on dealer lots between the Mustang Mach-E and the Ford F-150 Lightning. So Ford's goal was to be selling millions of these electric vehicles, and it's not happening. So Ford now has totally pulled back from their original goal of being the number one selling electric vehicle company in the country here, and now they're revamping their strategies of stopping production on maybe building another battery plant, and they're idling plants because of the challenges. Their goal now is to actually make these cars more affordable by lowering the pricing, by changing out the different battery packs from like a lithium to a lithium phosphate iron. I've talked about this a lot in my other videos on how they're going to a new design battery pack that will be a less expensive battery. It'll be a less powerful battery, and in some ways it'll be a less range battery. There's some variables that are going on there that I'm not totally accurate on, but the whole point is Ford's trying to cut their expenses and get a more efficient cost on the battery pack by going to a different technology. And from my understanding it may be a little faster charging battery, but it won't have the range. So this is the theory. Maybe you can only go 150 miles, 200 miles in the car, but it charges in like 15, 20 minutes instead of maybe like 30 or 40 minutes. So, I mean, that's just a whole other conversation. But once again, Ford's had to reevaluate their goals of the EV transition. But their goal is still to really get to the 2030 Biden administration Inflation Reduction Act. They're trying to meet that 2030 deadline of where half of the sales, that's the goal of this city administration, half of the vehicles sold by 2030 are electric vehicles. Wow. So you're really 5 model years away, 6 maybe, because in 2029, you now go to the 2030 vehicles. So in that time frame, we're going to go from, on a good year, selling 18 million new cars a year, could be low year 15 million, but we're going to go from selling 7 million to 9 million electric vehicles a year. That's the goal of this city administration, maybe 10 million. Wow. And then the constant conversation to me that I read is over in Europe, things are fine. The Europeans are just loving electric vehicle, which is like, okay. And the infrastructure is kind of, I guess, better over there. It's kind of hard to believe. But over in Europe, they've got a bigger presence of electric vehicles. But they also have a bigger presence of more competition of more affordable electric vehicles because the Chinaman, don't take it the wrong way, but the Chinese are making these vehicles that are actually much less expensive, and but they're not allowed in our country. So for the Chinese, they have infrastructure that would really, in so many ways, put Ford, even borderline Tesla, General Motors out of the electric vehicle market because they have substantially cheaper vehicles. I talked about that the other day, that these vehicles that are being built in China, they're not allowed here because of the huge tariffs on them, and this city administration doesn't want China here because it'll kill the whole infrastructure of the Inflation Reduction Act, which what is the goal of the IRA? The IRA is the Inflation Reduction Act signed by Joe Biden, that it's all really the green agenda bill that is pushing more than ever the goal for this country to become net zero carbon footprint through so many applications of manufacturing and cars and trucks and vehicles and our lifestyle. And the Inflation Reduction Act's goal is to hand out billions of dollars to other companies to set up shop here and to start building electric batteries, solar panels, electric cars, semiconductors, the windmills. The list goes on and on and on. So the city administration's number one goal is to push the green agenda at the fastest pace ever in modern times. But the challenges are it's extremely expensive. And for the consumers, they're radiating that back to the green agenda policies and a green agenda manufacturing that we're talking about right now, and how Ford and even GM are talking about how they have to pull back on the EV transition because they're just losing too much money, and the consumers don't have the goal that they thought. And that's what's so interesting here is it just seems to me it's befuddling that if the manufacturers ever reached out to the masses that would take a marketing survey, do you really want an electric vehicle? What would be the response? But instead, they're just the blind in so many ways are leading the blind and pushing this green agenda like never seen in our lifetime. And in so many ways, in the initial stages of it, it's a failure. So their goals aren't being met and they're having to reevaluate their goals. Let's get back up here in the office and get the day going because I've been talking yabba-doo, and I wonder if some people get a little seasick, right? Like, hey, man, keep on walking around in circles. And, all right, come on, pups. Let's get up here. Probably get the heat on, but it's not real cold out. So it is really actually very nice out. And just incredible weather here. And that way, Hey, got one less bullhorn. If you pay attention to my office, about one bullhorn went to Jake at Dulles Dodge because he got the deal done on the Smoke Show. So Jake, my other bullhorn, is now in his office, and he should have a plaque that says the number one bull, number one bull guy. I told him I should have put a little plaque there for him to have from me, from the Iceman from Ice Age. So yeah, so the goal of right now of Ford and General Motors is kind of changing, but what's even more interesting, which I talked a lot about last week, is more like Stellantis. Stellantis, the Ram, Jeep, Dodge, Alfa Romeo, Peugeot, the European flair company, they're addressing what they feel like is the realistic goal of this domestic market that they're selling their product, because they're selling overseas as well. But what they see is the consumer's goal is they would rather have options, which that makes so much more sense. Is I'm sure so many people on my YouTube channel would take a marketing survey, and at the end of the day, the marketing survey, I can guarantee you, would say, I still want ice. I still want ice. I'm not against the hybrid setup, but I guarantee you, a majority of the people would be saying, I still want the option to be able to buy ice and not be, forced to have no option. And so the reason I bring that up this morning is because the Stellantis conversation is because I just read this morning on the Wall Street Journal that Stellantis is right now moving forward on the Jeep side, the white collar side, of getting rid of employees. They're trying to cut their workforce, the white collar workforce, in half, from 6,500 people to 3,000 or 3,200 people. And they're trying to lure people to get early buyouts to leave and move on. And it's interesting because one of the comments in that article. You don't know what to take as, how factual this stuff really is when you have a journalist writing stuff. But the comment is that the UAW, in some ways, has created this um, mandate because of the higher labor now on the blue collar side. So that's very interesting. I think, wow. So UAW, did they have a goal? What's interesting is my daughter says yesterday she saw a UAW person striking somewhere. And I'm like, what? And then I read something here. I actually have seen just a little bit of information. Has the UAW really actually come to closure on this deal? I don't know. In some ways, it sounds like they're still haggling in the background with GM and Ford. They didn't mention Stellantis, but right now, it sounds like maybe this UAW hasn't met their goal. Wow. So, and if you've watched my channel and been following this, we all know when Sean Fain was demanding this incredibly high wages that he set the goal to be really not attainable. But at the end of the day, in so many ways, he accomplished the goal of getting everybody a better pay package and better benefits and whatever. But here's what's interesting about that is what UAW's goal has accomplished in their own union in other ways has created individuals that are on the other side of the equation that are not going to have a job because of the higher wages that are going to make it more challenging for Stellantis to transition from the today's technology into the green agenda technology. And that's really what the goals, this conversation this morning is really kind of about, is that we're seeing the automotive industry, set incredible goals. And it's incredible amounts of money that's having to be spent to try to transition to different, the way we're going to get around in vehicles, the transformation of electrical vehicles. And with that is coming the very expensive outlay of money. And how do they accomplish that? And how do they keep the consumers affordable in their vehicles? I mean, so what they're saying is this new union labor cost is going to add about $800 to $900 per vehicle more for a vehicle. But what's really interesting to me is you look around, you just are now seeing more than ever, and it's factual, that the car industry is in some ways collapsing. And when I say collapsing, to me that sounds radical, but in so many ways, the car industry definitely now is hitting the wall. And it's had such a run from what I think pretty much the mid 2020 year up through really, I'd have to say until the mid 2023 year. I would say it's been a solid 3-year run of just incredible sales and profits for the automotive industry. But I think that really has come to an end, and now it's starting to show and prevail on what consumers are just are they burnt out? They're out of money. I mean, there's so many articles of so many people that are just raising their hand that the high interest rates, they're not interested in buying a car. High interest rates, the higher prices. I mean, I don't think this is anything new for me to be telling anybody to watch my channel. But at the same time, all these goals of the UAW to create higher compensations, and don't get me wrong, these board members, these CEOs have been making, huge sums of money. But at the same time, I think, wow, are we at the crossroads of the automotive industry where they're going to really have to start pulling back on the manufacturing because the consumers have pulled back so much? I mean, there's a whole article this morning about how many small businesses are putting the brakes on buying and expanding their business because the interest rates are so high and it's so expensive to borrow money to grow their business and buy equipment. They're pulling back, which that goes into many sectors that, whether we realize it or not, so many small businesses buy all these trucks because they're capital investments. The way the laws and codes are written, when you buy a truck, you can use this as a business expense, legitimate, and there's different ways in how you can take deductions on a business truck versus a car. You buy a car, you don't get much of a tax write-off in buying a car. You buy the right GVW size truck, and these are huge capital expenditure tax write-offs. So, and that drives a lot of these, companies that buy vehicles because of the tax incentives. And but at this time, I guess a lot of these business owners are looking at the amount of money you spend on paying for the debts versus the relief on the tax. It isn't making sense. So then that's where you're like, well, you know what? I'm just not going to buy any new trucks right now. It's just too expensive. I'm not going to really reap the rewards of the tax incentives for the amount of money I'm going to spend for this new equipment. And so, hello, right? I mean, and that's just things that most people aren't really cognizant of or aware of, because that's a huge amount of the Ford's truck sales. I mean, how many handyman and how many independent, contractor guys are out there who have small businesses, small business license, and you can buy these trucks and you can write them off. I mean, there's a lot more to that than I think people realize. So, you know as well as I do, when the big guys start seeing the pullback from small business guys, and then they're going to see the pullback of the consumers, where does what all starts to play out? We know it starts to play out. Well, for you as a consumer, you're probably in the end going to get a lot better deal buying a car because they're going to start discounting them. But at the same time, there's so many people right now that bring their car to the table to want to trade in, and the vehicle is going to have so much negative equity, the numbers just don't work. So, and that's where then you as an individual, what is your goal? And that's what I thought to myself this morning is what drives you to go buy that new vehicle? What is the goal? I mean, what do you think? We all live in the future. When we look at something, we visualize, how it would be to own that, what you would be maybe looked at. I mean, there's so many things that go on when you buy a material item. I mean, it's numerous things, but this is the car channel, so we'll focus on the cars and trucks. But what drives that person to say, well, I've had my day with this, and then I want to have this. What is your goal? What is your accomplishment? And that's what I talked about. You can talk all day long about this conversation. Is what does the green agenda, the electric vehicle, really do for the individual? That what is the goal? I mean, what is your goal to buy an electric vehicle? So you've got a nice vehicle out in your driveway, and yeah, you got to go put gas in and all. But but is your income that tight where you can't buy the gas? Then how did you buy the car? But the point is, what is the goal? So what transitions people out of the ICE into electric vehicles? And we all know that it's the constant pounding of the green agenda of save the world. And this, that, and this, but then for so many, they're sitting back and saying, "I'm just not really buying into the goal of what you're presenting to me." Here's what's really interesting: is the electricians, for the younger people out there that are watching my channel, the shortage of electricians is growing, and it's a very big concern that we're going to have a shortage of electricians. And I read a really good article this morning on the Wall Street Journal. That's a great, anybody watch my channel, a great go-to, news. A lot of business information. You do have to pay for subscription, but it's well worth the money spent because you get a lot of information. And so what it talks about is the challenge of these electric charging stations being put in. As I speak every day on my channel, I guarantee another 300, 500, or 1,000 charging stations have been installed in this country, throughout this country. It's happening. Whether people want to accept it or not, the continuation of the electric vehicle transition, it's happening. It's not going to stop. Ford and GM are not going to stop building electric vehicles. They will. Stellantis is. They're bringing cars. I believe it is Ford just bought out some California-based company that's supposed to help them build even better technology in these electric vehicles on November 1st. I don't know the name of the company, but the point is, the challenge here is all these electric charging stations don't have the right infrastructure for people to maintain and fix them. And so they're already predicting that between now and 2030, there's going to be 146,000 shortage. They're going to be short 146,000 electricians to maintain the electric charging station infrastructure and to help grow the infrastructure and to just in general, this country and the world is going so electric like never seen before. I mean, think it through. Everything's going electric. Everything. So if you're a young individual, becoming a journeyman, that's 8,000 hours of your schooling, learning to become, I guess, a master, beyond master electrician. I'm sure other people that are electricians out there know the language better than I do because I'm not per se an electrician. And I know how to do a lot of electrical work, but I'm not a certified electrician. So that's a great opportunity. There's a goal for anybody to watch my channel. And even for me, the business that I'm in, I think for my daughter, that my daughter is learning all the roads. She works for me. She rides around every day. And so she's learning the whole infrastructure, the whole network in this area and getting around. And, that's not easy, especially in today's world of living on these roads because it's so challenging because of the constant traffic. And so for her, even for her being of her young age, getting going with me and me teaching her on my side of my business of where things are going to the future, how she could potentially evolve into being a journeywoman electrician, and they're talking how you can make really good money because it's going to be such a demand for these electricians that would be a great career for anybody that likes to be out in the field, likes to be hands on. And in hindsight, had I known what I know today, I probably would have been an electrician. I probably would have pursued that career and had my own electrical contracting company. And I've always been intrigued by electricity. I always like the challenges. And that's the thing about the goals in our life is you want a challenge. I mean, I think everybody here that's watching my channel all can relate with, you set goals because you want to have a challenge to accomplish something. And that's what's so cool is because if you write your goals down, and that's what the thing is in life, if you write your goals down and you know the goals, then you accomplish things. I mean, I think it's interesting how we all operate in life and I've always have loved sports and I've coached youth sports, and you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan when you come to the game. You have to have notes, and you have to teach others the skills and the plan, the play of what they have to do in order for them to accomplish to get the goal. And I think it's interesting how for most people in life, they don't write down a plan. They don't have a plan. They don't have a goal. And so they're just kind of, lost. Can you imagine watching a football game with two teams show up and each coach has no specific plays or a plan on how to, win over the other one. But that's just the basics of life is you should have a goal. You should have things written down that we should accomplish. And that's what I did when I was very young, getting going in my career. I had a game plan and a goal, and I've read that day in and day out. And that's why I like that book, Think and Grow Rich, because I think that's such the basics of goals for you as an individual in life, because that book teaches you just the basics of you get up every day and can you continue on your path to your goals if you have those 12 steps that are written in that book of having a positive mental attitude, sound physical health, harmony in relationships, freedom of fear, hope of future achievement, capacity for applied faith, willingness to share your blessings with others, be engaged labor of love, open mind, all subjects to all people, complete self-discipline, knowledge to understand others, and then the 12th is your financial security. And if you master that, you get the 13th with sixth sense. So the whole point is that's a goal. You should have a goal in your head that if you're pursuing things and want to become better and accomplish things, you got to step back and look at who you are. And if you don't have a positive mental attitude, you've already got, if you're not in sound physical health, if you don't have harmony with human relationships, if you don't have freedom of fear, if you don't have any hope of future achievement, I mean, you don't have the capacity for your own applied faith or your willingness to help others, if you're not in love or love others, if you don't have complete self-discipline, I mean, knowledge to help others. I mean, there's so many things that all comes together for you as an individual, and no matter what age in life, to, I think, accomplish your goals. It's just a basic foundation. It's just like people who go work out. How's a guy that's going to go to the gym and work out that just drank a case of beer is that guy going to be able to work out? I mean, sincerely, or the guy that's, you're going to work today and you've partied so hard all night last night that you're exhausted and you're extremely tired and you don't feel well. And how are you going to accomplish your goals at work today? But we witness all this stuff, and that's the things that these are just the basics I learned at a very young age of my life. That sadly, majority of people, what I just read to you and said to you, and trying to accomplish goals, they don't have the capacity for that. And they're always looking for the excuse of why things won't work. All right, everybody, I'm going to kind of leave it at that. And as always, it's always about the adventures and the goals. And what's my next goal? And I asked one of my good friends, Brent, who watches a lot of my YouTube channel. He's a great guy. Hey there, Brent, if you're watching my channel, appreciate it. He's got that brand new Z06, and I showed it at the car show. It's not the Grabber Blue. It's a Chevy's name. And it's a really nice, beautiful car. And so I looked at him and I said, now, what's your next car? What's your next goal? And he's like, I know. What is my next car? Isn't that something? And that's what happens in life. As you progress and you accomplish things that you want, and then you get them, and then you step back, and you got to say, okay, what's my next goal? I mean, what would make, and keep in mind, he's not some multi-millionaire guy where I think he's going to justify buying the Lamborghini, the Ferrari, I mean, the McLaren, whatever it may be. So, I mean, he's more realistic of how to spend your money. So, but at the same time, he's got that Z06, and he even looked at me, he's like, yeah, I know. What would I get in place of this? I think you got to get the E-Ray. I think it's funny. We were talking at the car show on Sunday, very light show, and I didn't even make any really video of anybody's car there because it was such a light show. But we were sitting there talking about all this, and he has an E-Ray Corvette on order. And I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I think down the road, that all-wheel drive Corvette, I would think that E-Ray would definitely be in your book for maybe. And the thing is, he could sell a Z06 down the road and get really good money out of it, and borderline be in position just about be able to buy the E-Ray because he has good equity into each one of these, into his Z06, and he's just playing, he's using his money smart, and he's got a vehicle he could drive for a good year, maybe 2 years, and sell it probably close to what he paid for it. So, wow. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. Everybody, hope everybody has a great day. But, yeah, what's my goal? Yeah, what is my goal? Yeah, sure. Yeah, that can get deep and heavy, so we're going to leave it at that. So, what's the next adventure? I don't know. Interesting, right? So, really want to drive that Jeep 392 Wrangler to really see if that thing is what everybody says it is that does reviews on it. So, hopefully, that vehicle's come up from Seminole, Florida, and gets here today or tomorrow. And so maybe get a video on that. So everybody, have a great day. God bless. Stay safe. And watch your back. That's for dang sure. Wow.